What's up? It's your girl at Tiffany M. Draper, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Miss Jolianne Jackson, the mother of Mark Winlock Jr., a teenager from Youngstown accused of murdering Brandon Wareham, 18, of Austintown. I just wanted to call. I wanted to call a little early. I didn't want to be on CPT time.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I was just telling him, I said, why didn't you answer the phone? I was like, if she calls, answer the phone.
I'm telling you, I'm trying to be on my Oprah, but don't worry, I'm not going to interrupt you all the time. That's what Oprah be
Oh,
doing.
no, how are you doing?
I am doing great. What about you?
I'm hanging in there. I'm here. I'm ready. Whatever you want to ask me.
First of all, I just want to say I am so happy the way you are fighting for your son. I
Thank
mean,
you.
most people would give up. They would, just let the system do what the system loves to do, which is bury our black men.
Yes, you're right about that. And I'm fighting just not for my son, but also for other black males that are going through this, which I found out it's about 15 or 20 of them in the same jail that's going through the same thing.
Oh, wow.
So,
And with what we're going through with COVID-19, we don't need your son anywhere in that environment.
right. And it's unfortunate that this is going on, but I have gotten news that it's like 2,000 now that's in that system that has the COVID-19 that's still in jail.
Wow.
Yeah. They're not trying to release them. I'm thinking like this is really crazy. But
Okay.
I'm just keeping it in prayer like I've been doing.
Okay, so can you start off by telling the listeners a little bit about your son and kind of give them some information about what's really going on?
Yes, ma'am. Well, at this time, my son, in 2018, had just turned 18. Just got fitted for cap and gown. Everything was going great, and then all of a sudden, I get a phone call saying there's been a homicide. Well, at that point in time, I honestly thought it was my son that was dead. And I only had, literally, I only had 24 hours to get to Ohio. And, his dad called me frantic. I was actually sitting in church that Sunday. And he's like, Mark's missing. We don't know what's going on. Well, come to find out, he didn't know nothing about it. He was actually, with a friend and a cousin. And he had left his car with another friend in the same area. All this was going on.
Wow.
I said, oh, my goodness. And my son, when he got back to the city, they was looking for him. And they had literally, went from door to door to his grandmother's house, to my mother's house. They were FBI, cops, investigations. He's like, what's going on? And he's like, turn myself in. He's like, what did I do? I just, to this day, it's like reliving it. So it's just like telling this story, it gets emotional. And
I understand.
I just remember saying, okay, so what did my son do? And no one could answer our questions. His dad said, you know what, I'm going to take him to my cousin's house. He used to be an investigator, a detective, and we're going to stay there and we're going to wait because he's like, I don't know what's going on, and I don't want them to, of course, brutality. We didn't want nothing to happen. We didn't want nobody shooting anybody. So he says, by the time you get here, you'll be able to see your son. Well, that didn't happen. They literally threw the handcuffs on my son at his cousin's house. And he's like, what? They're like, nobody explained anything to his dad, uncle, grandparents. At this point in time, I'm on my way there.
Right.
They get him to the station. They're asking several questions. He's telling them exactly where he was at. He's telling them exactly what was going on, And then, next thing you know, 3 days later, he's indicted. And we're like, indicted for what? He didn't even get to, he's like, Mom, I didn't do this. So at this point in time, we're trying to understand the processing, like the interrogation part. Everything was skipped over. His Miranda rights. We're like, okay.
Wait. I'm sorry to interrupt. They didn't give your son his Miranda rights?
Correct. But I did not find this out, Tiffany, until we didn't find out, the parents and the family. We didn't find out until, where was it? Maybe spring or mid last year, 2019. And my son said, he called from jail and he said, Mom, I just remembered something. He was like, they never Mirandaized me. I said, huh? He said, I remember sitting there in the car. And he was like, then I went to the station. And he was like, Dad and my Uncle Fred, everybody was there. And they had pulled me into the interrogation room, asking me all these questions, but never once read him his rights. I said, okay. So I said, we need to tell the attorney. So at this point in time, we do have the paid attorneys, the criminal attorneys, James Gentile, which is known as Jimmy, and Ron Yarwood. They tell us that literally everything that we were suggesting and telling them and giving them all the information and evidence, that doesn't matter because the prosecution and the judges, they feel like he did this, they assume, they think. Now, all this is assumptions. I said, but you guys have the forensics.
Right.
The evidence. Everything that we tried, the acquittal, the dismissal, they blocked me. They blocked his dad. I was basically going there every month. I was there for every conference, every courtroom appearance. It got to the point where when we was in the courtroom, it was like, as soon as they called my son's name, you should see the cameras, you should see the news media lined up, It was crazy. And it's just like, okay, this is a high-profile case. It was the number one murder case for 2018 of that city and county. So you have different prosecutors and not only that, attorneys fighting to get on this case. Well, at this point in time, we had already went through a total of 3 attorneys, and that's including the public defender, which we fired because he had everything all messed up and screwed up. And then we paid for a criminal attorney, which we thought at that point in time was a good idea.
Right.
Bad mistake. So to kind of recap and go forward as well, we are now in 2019. We are getting evidence, and we are, getting everything that we can to support where my son was and what happened. And our attorneys are still blocking us. And then next thing we know, they stopped communicating with us in fall of 2019, starting in September. And we were making the payments on time. We had already put $10,000 down.
Wow. And
we were still making payments because it's a total of $26,000. So, yeah, for criminal attorneys, they run between $25,000 and $35,000.
Wow.
So, right. So at this point in time, I started to do research and I started to dig more. And as I was digging more, I got blocked more, and I just couldn't believe it. So his dad and I, we talk about everything. We don't miss a beat. Through texts, emails, phone conversations. We listen to our son. He calls every other day, 2 or 3 times, and he has his discovery. Well, it took forever to get, the discovery packet. Our attorneys kept saying they're going to pull the phone records. They just pulled the phone records as of February of this year.
Wow.
They told us in 2018 and 2019 they had pulled the phone records. That was a lie. So now we are still fighting to get evidence, submitted over and everything like that. I started digging more into the case. I started staying up every night to 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. His dad and I started going through paperwork after paperwork. And my son called one day and says, Mom, I found so many discrepancies in my discovery package because he has his copy as well inside the jail. It's 500 for 509 for the one discovery package. The second package is like 450 pages, and my son went through every single page.
As would I.
Correct. And so his dad sent me a copy. We all were, this is an everyday thing. It's like a job. And I started looking into, I started having phone conferences. I started going up there more and more and more, taking off on my job. Thank God I was able to do that because his dad couldn't do that with his job. So when I'm up there, I'm definitely in their face, literally. They sometimes would see me, sometimes they would lie and say other stuff because they had no answers for me. I'm asking questions about the evidence, the forensics, everything, and no answers, Tiffany, none. So I had my notebook, I had everything. I started recording the phone conversations. I started to record the conferences when I walked into the attorney's office.
Mm-hmm.
The last phone conference I recorded was in November. And that was the last time they spoke to me until February of this year because they knew that I knew something was wrong. And I just started asking the questions of, okay, so you say my son did this. Where's the video? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So to recap everything, there was a video. Now the video that they showed me in person when I went in July of 2019, the video from the neighbor's house shows clearly that there's a gunshot. You see people scattering. You see people running. And then you see the victim, Brandon Warham. You see him trying to get away, but then he slumps over. And it's blurry. You don't see faces. You don't know who it is. At this point in time, I literally seen a 30-minute video of this. And to kind of fast forward again, when they told me there was another video, I was in person February 2020 of this year.
Okay.
And I basically had a 2-hour meeting with them where they basically told me in my face, across the table, which I have recorded, that they did show me a 2-hour video, not a 30-minute video, and that my son was on there, and that they don't know what I'm talking about. I said, you know very well what I'm speaking of. They was arguing, both attorneys, in my face, across the table, saying, well, the one says, James Dental says, well, we can show you the video. I said, okay. The other one, Ron Yarwood, says, no, we're not going to show her the video because her and the father and our client, which is her son, they've already seen the video. I said, no, we haven't. I said, that's a lie. I said, the only video you showed me was a blurry video, which was a 30-minute video versus a 2-hour video that you claim now that you have of my son.
Right.
I said, you only showed me that in July of 2019. So, of course, they're looking crazy across the table. And that's when it all really kind of just really transpired into something even more. And I said, I don't understand what happened. I asked them the question, so what happened from the time we dropped off his clothes on February 14th, because I'm still in Ohio now,
right.
February 14th, for the trial that was supposed to happen on February 24th. And they said, well, something transpired in Michael Sherman's case for his trial, so we can't go to trial with your son. I said, so you back him into appeal because you found something else? Or what's the something else? And they were like, well, client, we can't say that because, you're not the client, your son's the client. I said, but we're his parents. You've been telling us everything step by step. And I said, and then you stopped talking to us last fall. I said, now, you say there's a video. Where's the video? Where did this video mysteriously come from out of the blue? Once I said that, that's when Ron Yarwood got upset with me in the office and said, this video didn't just mysteriously appear, Ms. Jackson. We showed you this video last July. And I said, no, you didn't. I said, this is the discrepancy right here. If you've had this video all this time, and my son has been arrested in 2018, you took the case over. Not once did you show my son the video, nor his family, but you decide 3 days before February 24th to all of a sudden tell him there's a video. You pull him out of the jail, take him into an interrogation room on February 21st, and I'm like, I don't understand, So nothing was explained to us. When I started asking questions, this is what has happened. There's no questions being answered. And then when I started to do the research and started to even dig even further, they knew that I knew, and his dad knew. Mm-hmm. And so now, to kind of just recap, his dad calls me several times last year from September all the way until right before Christmas of 2019. And he says, they're not answering my calls. They won't even see me. And so I made several trips up there all last fall. Matter of fact, all 2019, 2018, all the way up into this year. I just got back to Atlanta, Georgia in March 13th. So you can't tell us that his family don't care and we're not asking questions because we are. We've been there every step of the way.
Right.
We've read all the criminal reports. And then when we start asking questions, we can't use that for evidence. We can't use that for forensics. But then let's go back to November 2019, where Daniel Sullivan, the actual trigger man, he takes a 14-year deal. And he admits, okay, so you admit to everything. Not only that, Tiffany, the evidence and the forensics point back to Daniel Sullivan. So I'm not understanding how does all these other people that you say that was involved in this whole robbery and murder, how is it that they're getting all these years tacked onto them? How is it that they are now suspects and are thrown in jail? I'm just kind of lost in this situation because if my son has an alibi, which he does,
right,
and it's on courtview.com, and I had to point this out, that person that they were supposed to subpoena, the subpoenas never went out. And I found that out by myself. I brought it to our attorney at that time, which was James Gentile and Ron Yarwood, and I said, did you even look into my son's alibi? He says to me, what alibi? I said, it's here on Courtview. I said, his dad and I check Courtview every other day, either late at night or early in the morning, because we know when people put in documents, we know sometimes it goes in late. And it says right there, it says notice for alibi. This was 2018, and you never once subpoenaed nobody to 2020. So there's so many discrepancies in the case. There's so much going on where my son has caught it even in reading his own discovery and then comparing with me and his dad. His dad and I have looked into everything on this docket, everything on this case. We're showed that if Daniel Sullivan was the trigger man, and he is, he took the deal, he took this deal and he gets parole. And he gets everything. He gets the sweetest deal. And he gets out, probably in good behavior and all that good stuff, along with the girls, the two white girls, that set all of this up. They get out in their early 20s. Okay, so what about Michael Sherman? What about my son? And there's various others that they have thrown into this mix. And they said, well, it's a complicity law, the state of Ohio, if you was associated or around the time of the murder or the event or the crime, that you are just as guilty as the person who pulled the trigger. Does that make sense?
That makes absolutely no sense, because there could be a random person walking by.
Correct. And so when I brought this to their attention, again, that's when everybody started to block his dad and me. Now, let's fast forward to February of this year. The only way I was able to get in there to have a 2-hour conference with them was because I had to call, because his dad said they're not calling back, they're not texting me back. He sent me screenshots of every text, every email. And so when I get in there, they tell me, they're always trying to play his dad and me against each other. They say, Mr. Winlock, Mark's dad hasn't called us. He hasn't communicated with us. And I'm laughing because at this point in time, I know that this is a lie. But I sat there patiently and calmly, and I let them explain their lie to me. And I said, so you mean to tell me, Mr. Gentile, Mr. Yarwood, that his dad hasn't communicated? I said, because I know for a fact he has. And so now they're quiet in the conference room, and they're sitting there, and I have everything in my phone and everything on my email, where he screenshot me, where he texted both of you. He's called this office to talk to your assistants, Lynn and Judy. I have called them. And I said, and the only way you guys were going to see me today was because I came to pick up my son's dress clothes that was for trial on February 24th. And I said, this is the only way you guys are going to talk to me, because I had to come pick up his clothes. So that shows me a lot about this whole system. Now, I was there for Michael Sherman's trial. I was basically escorted out that Wednesday because the family of Brandon Warham and the prosecutors, they realized that I was sitting in the back of the courtroom.
Right.
Now, Michael Sherman was to go first, and then my son's trial was February 24th. We never made it to trial. So Michael Sherman, they literally gave him the max, and this poor boy was not even He wasn't even near the car. He was actually on the porch. He actually was minding his business. And they literally threw him, like, literally under the bus. Like, everyone was saying, oh, Michael Sherman was there, and Mark Winlock was there. Let's see, Crane was there. Everybody on the block was there. You threw 10-plus names in this situation, which doesn't make sense. So everyone that got thrown in this has a complicity charge on them, plus a kidnapping charge, which doesn't make sense because nobody was kidnapped. Brandon Warham came to that house to sell drugs to the white girls and everybody on that block. But you guys are sitting here making him to be, now, I understand he lost his life, and no one should lose his life like that, but he did come to this neighborhood to sell drugs. He was a white boy selling drugs to everybody, which was weed, everybody on this block. So how is this a kidnapping charge when he came on his own? He was not forced physically or any such type of, how is this possible? When I started to ask these questions again, Tiffany, that's when it got even more heated. That's when the conversation then abruptly ended.
Right.
And that was fine. You know what I'm saying? I got up. I was a lady about it. I shook both their hands. But I went out that door and I called everybody, and his dad including. And I told him, I said, something's wrong with this case. Our own attorneys are not listening to us, and this is the final straw. So now you have the news media that is saying, he did this, he did this, he did this. They assume, they think, they're using these words from Jennifer Paris, who is supposed to be on the prosecution side. She goes to the media. She says there's a video. Not one time have you released the video to the attorney. Not one time have you released the video to the news media. Mm-hmm. Because if you notice, everybody that's on video, they're in the news media, and they'll play that video. They'll show it. But you never want to play this video in the last 2 years showing my son shooting this white boy up close in person. All you keep saying is there's a video. The new attorney, as of right now, because we have another one, he is saying the same thing. He says, I want you and his dad to see this video once I can get my hands on it, if there is a video.
Right.
He's like, he said he got a phone call, which was about 4 weeks ago, and he says, the prosecution has told me that there's supposed to be a video of your son. He's like, I'm sure you have heard this. And I said, yes, sir, I have. I said, but I don't understand where this video has evolved from. He says to me, Ms. Jackson, I definitely feel what you're going through. He was like, but I have to get to the bottom of this, and this could take weeks, it could take days. And I said, that's no problem, but I would like to. He said, I know. He cut me short. He said, I know. I want you to see the video. I want you and your dad, once I get this video, I want to make an appointment with you guys so we can sit down and see this video. He's like, because I'm not understanding, if it was a video, like you were saying to them, why hasn't this been released in 2 years? This happened in 2018, March of 2018. And so that's the problem right there. I felt like, hey, if it's a video and my son is on there, prove it. Show it to me. Then I will be okay. Then I know I love my son, but I'm going to, as my son said he didn't do this, and I believed him from the first day, I know for a fact, why would my son, he's getting ready to graduate. He just got fitted for cap and gown February of 2018, and then you guys throw cuffs on him and throw him in a cell on March 2018. That's a month apart. And he has no record. He's never been in trouble. And they're trying to play it up like, oh, well, his parents wasn't together. Okay. What does that got to do with anything?
Right.
Well, he comes from... No. We're not going to do that. And that was a lot in the beginning, trying to play us against each other, because his dad and I were not together, but we're good friends. Mm-hmm. So we co-parent on everything. And just because we're not together does not give you the right, like his dad even said in a statement, doesn't give you the right to say anything to his mother or I about what our relationship was in the past while Mark was growing up, because we never had any beef. We never had any argument. It was just about my son. So the attorneys tried to play us against each other, and to even make the media think that, he comes from a poverty-stricken, family, which is not true, because my son had everything, and then some. I don't understand what they were doing, but it all started to unravel basically last year in 2019, all the way up until right now at this present moment. And I just feel like, this story needs to come out, because I asked my son to, and I just one day last year, right before Thanksgiving, I said, Mark Anthony, I need to know how many other black males are in this jail that is going through this. And one of them happened to be his best friend. And he says, and I didn't even know his best friend was in there until I went to visit one of the Sundays, because I go on Sundays when I'm there to visit. Mm-hmm. And I seen his parents there, and I just couldn't believe it. And she says, we're going through the same thing, Miss Jackson, with our attorney. And, he's been sitting there for 2 years, too. And we're going through the same motions with our attorney. No one listening to us. We're asking questions, and they're blocking us, from phone calls and visits. And I'm just like, okay. And so when I asked my son, he says, Mom, it's like 15 to 20 of us in here going through the same thing. And I'm not understanding. And I just knew something was wrong. I said, 15 to 20?
That's unacceptable.
Correct. Very unacceptable, because I asked my son, I said, are you sure? I said, can you just take a week to kind of observe the jail? And he says, yes, Mom. He was like, I know for a fact. And when he called back that week later, he says, it's about a good 20. I said, 20 black males? He says 20. And so that's a red flag. And we all have almost the same attorneys. Yes, there you go. So it's a red flag. And so when I started, Tiffany, to do the research, and I started asking questions, and it got so intense last year to the point where they blocked his dad from the jail. They blocked my son from calling his dad, literally. And his dad called me, and he says, has our son called you? And I said, no. I said, what's wrong? And he says, I don't understand. Mark hasn't called me in days. And I said, you know what? He hasn't called me either, which is like for the whole 2 weeks we were like panicking. Mm-hmm. And he went down to the jail, and he did say something to the sergeant, and then we had to get the judge involved. It was just a big mess. And then all of a sudden, my son's able to call us now. And it's just like, this is crazy, because we already knew they were listening to the phone call. My son hasn't said anything out the way. They're like, they're listening to the phone calls. We didn't give a crap. You know what? Like, this is our son. Mm-hmm. Listen to our phone calls. So because of what we were saying to our son about keeping his head up, staying strong, and standing on what you believe, and we're telling him that he will get out, I'm sure they heard all of this on our conversations. They blocked his dad from him calling his dad, and then they blocked me. And then it just got to the point where we just started reaching out to people to tell people, hey, this is actually going on with several cases. Come to find out, they have thrown charges on top of charges that don't even make sense on so many different wrongful incarceration cases, and my son including, because my son shouldn't have a kidnapping charge. A lot of these black males have a kidnapping charge. Who have they kidnapped?
Right.
Who have they robbed? The boy's criminal report is sitting right in front of me right now as I speak to you, and he still had his wallet and the $60. He still had everything on him once he went to the hospital and his personal belongings. So what did they get? Was it just the weed? Maybe they did just get the weed. But if you were gonna rob somebody, wouldn't you taken the money, the wallet? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you taken the weed too? Because in this criminal report that I have right here in front of me, and his dad has the same copy, it says right here his clothes was torn and bloody. Okay, he was struggling with somebody at the car. A gunshot just didn't just go off, and when I pointed that out, I said, something's wrong with this report. Not only that, inside the car was his girlfriend, another white female. And I said, okay, so if she called 911 in 2018, where is the 911 record of her stating that her boyfriend has been shot.
Right.
There is nothing surfacing at all. So I brought this to their attention. And so when I stopped bringing stuff to attention, I told his dad, I said, we have to stop because they're not listening to us. Next thing we need to do, we need to start reaching out social media and to the news. His dad tells me, he's like, I don't know if that's a good idea. I said, well, we have no choice. Because not only is our son suffering, there's other black males in there suffering. And one of them has to be his best friend. And I talked to her, which is, his best friend's mom, and I talked to the lady, and she's telling me the same exact story, same exact situation that we're going through. And I'm just like, enough is enough. Because my son, everyone in there is suffering because these prosecutors, they really not caring about our community. They it's about money, and I know it is.
I want to interject really fast. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but there was a judge that got arrested because he was putting black youth and Hispanic youth in jail for what, life or very long sentences for absolutely nothing, and they found out he was getting paid for it. So it wouldn't surprise me if maybe these attorneys are actually sabotaging their own clients to get a kickback.
Right. And it's sad. It's really sad because I know that this system is built off of money. The private sector, all that, the jails, I get it. You know what I'm saying? But wrong is wrong and right is right. Now, I can understand if someone molested a child or raped somebody. Yes, they should be in jail. But if someone's assuming and thinking, that to me, and you don't even try to look into the evidence of the forensic, we were told that the prosecution assumes, and the theory is, because he kept saying theory, that your son is the trigger man. Now, Tiffany, I know my son is right-handed. I brought this to their attention. Daniel Sullivan is left-handed. And I brought this to them as well. I got whiffs of a lot of different things, and that's when I went and I made an appointment to see our own attorney. I said, Mr. Gentile, I said, my son is right-handed. I said, but in this description, in this report, and in the first court proceedings where this young lady gets on the stand and she testifies, which she messed up the whole thing and they had to, take her up out of there, which was just embarrassing. She says that, oh, Mark Winlock was holding the gun in his left hand. And I'm like, what? And they said, well, okay, Mrs. McCrane, they said, can you describe what the gun looks like? She didn't even describe it correctly. She didn't even describe the position. She didn't describe the feet correctly of how many feet away from the car. She didn't describe anything correctly, but you telling me that she's a credible witness. How is this credible? And they still used her, even though they know she was on mental medication, and she's not credible. When I said this to our own attorneys, I said, she's not credible. And I said, look in the discovery. I said, did you guys even look and see that this young lady is on medication? And she hasn't had her medication probably while she's been in jail. And her statement has changed 6 times. Not only, oh yes, Tiffany, no, honey, I'm an investigator. Okay, I'm a mama first. And I said, if I'm wrong, I said, I'm going to get to it. And I promised my son, and his dad and I promised, we're going to get to the bottom of this. I don't care how long it takes. And when I said, this young lady has changed her statement, not only her, the other white young lady, she changed her statement 6 to 7 times. Every time they go to them, it changes. As of right now, the statements have changed a total of 7 times since 2018.
Wow.
They didn't arrest these 2 young ladies until December of 2018. Okay? So that tells you something. She gets on the stand. I was a witness of this just January of this year. She gets on the stand again while I'm there. I'm like, oh, Sherman's trial. I just can't believe it. It's just like you have to laugh to keep from crying. And you sit there in the back of that courtroom and you hear this testimony where she can't even get it together. They asked her 3 different ways the same question. And she says on the last one, I don't remember because it was 10 months before I got arrested. I don't remember. She doesn't remember because she was on medication. And you guys are not paying attention. So, to fast forward again, Tiffany, I did bring this to their attention, and they blocked us. And I said, do you even realize in this discovery packet that these young ladies, either they were on something, they're young, number one. Number two, they're scared. Number three, they've already admitted that my son didn't do it because they were threatened by somebody else to throw everybody in here. They already admitted that they were threatened by gunpoint and that they had no choice but to throw everybody's name in it. But my son is still sitting in jail with no evidence or forensics that points back to him being a trigger man. And that to me is amazing that you would sit there and allow this to constantly go on. And not one time look into what we're saying, because you know that you may have a lawsuit. You know that if you say we're right and you're wrong, it looks bad on the county, it looks bad on the prosecution and county clerk, it looks bad on the investigator. But you know what I found out? Because I have been to that neighborhood. I'm sorry, I get so emotional.
No. You have every right to be. You have every right.
Oh, my goodness. So, yes, I have been to the neighborhood where the crime has been committed, and I have seen these people, the houses. I know for a fact the investigator has not been to every house, because this neighborhood is a big neighborhood. So you mean to tell me you went from door to door, like we did, door to door, and you talk to these people?
Nah. If you won't go online to check information, you're not going door to door.
Correct. So I found that out. And the funny part about it is they knew that I was up there. They knew every month I was up there. I would park my car, Tiffany, and I tell his dad, it could be 11 o'clock at night. I'm sitting there, and I'm watching this whole neighborhood. And I'm sitting there watching this house, which was a drug house. Because the mama of the white young ladies, she sold drugs out of that house.
Look how they were raised. They want to bring up how your son may have been raised based on stereotypes, but if this girl's mom was a drug, let me let you go because I'm getting worked up. Go ahead.
It works you up to a point where you just can't believe it. But because they are, it goes back to white privilege. This is their white privilege. Because right now, because of what her mother and grandmother said, because the testimony was, you said that your grandmother was in the house at the time this happened. The grandmother said she was in the other room. That whole statement changed when she got in front of everybody. Now it's, no, my grandmother was at work. Now, I need for people to understand that, yes, when you are under pressure and you are young, you're liable to say anything, but just know that people are watching you. They are watching and hearing you. And I'm not understanding, how come y'all didn't hear this young lady change her statement? How is it that you are using her as a credible witness? Y'all still threw her in handcuffs, though, in December of 2018, but you're using her on the stand every single court hearing to testify against everybody else. Not one time have you looked into her history, that background of where that house is. I'm not understanding why you haven't been to that crime scene and you see. So now the house is just totally quiet. There's no activity there. I go there every time I'm in Ohio. I will go to that neighborhood. I will make sure they know it's me. Because the simple fact is, I'm not afraid. And his dad said, you know what? Whatever happens from this, he's like, I don't want you to get hurt. Oh, no. Because that means it's retaliation. Then that means we have a problem. And I told him, and I tell everybody, hey, if I'm gone for hours, this is exactly what has happened to me. Because I already know that it's going to be retaliation against my son. He's in jail. And I tell my son, watch yourself. Watch who you talk to. Be careful. Be mindful. Any red flags, you call us. That's it. Point blank, period. And, we haven't seen him because of COVID-19, because of all this going on. So I'm on my way back up there. He does have a phone hearing for May 6th because he did a plea withdrawal. And he did it a handwritten motion. And that was a problem, too. And they said, well, just because he puts in a motion or a letter to the judge doesn't mean that it's approved yet. That's fine, but we know it's in there because you guys backed him into a corner on February 21st saying that he had to take the plea deal. And he asked you guys why, when he knows he has an alibi, he knows that he wasn't there, but you guys are still pushing him. So the exact words, because he called us as soon as he got out of that room, and he called his dad put me on the radio. He says, I want you guys to hear exactly what they told me and why I signed the plea is because they said that the Judge Anthony Dapolito, said that he already feels that I'm guilty as a trigger man, and so I should go ahead and sign the plea deal.
Wow.
And, yeah. So this is the reason why my son withdrew the plea this year. That's why it's in the news of man withdraws the plea of being guilty because my son took a week. I said, well, you take a week. And I said, we support you regardless. And he says, Mom, I didn't do this, but they're making it out to seem if I don't take the plea deal, I'm going to get life in prison. So, if I take the 18 to 22, he's like, at least I can be. I said, no. Not 18 to 22, not life. We're not doing it.
Right.
I said, because Daniel Sullivan got 14 with impossible parole, and he's going to get out probably in 6.
Mm-hmm.
So no. He says, Mom, and you could tell that he was just so distraught. So we didn't hear from him for a whole week. And his dad said, what do you think he's doing? I said, I think he's thinking. Mm-hmm. I think that this is the time for us right now to let our son think about this whole situation as a whole. We cannot make a decision for him because we were not there. They called his dad in there on February 21st. His father says to me, by the time I got there, he's like, our son was down there in tears. He was like, when I got there, they telling me that he had already signed the plea and that there's a video, and it was just so much chaos because then they called me and put me on speakerphone. At this point in time, I'm actually on my way back up there on February 21st, and I think they knew, and so they had to hurry up and make him sign that plea, and then they called his dad to come down to the courthouse. And then it's like, well, we got a video on him, so, it's in his best interest that he signed the plea. That's when the whole ruckus came, was this year. And I said, are you serious right now? Because then I had to have a 2-hour conference, and that's when the whole thing really exploded. I asked about the subpoenas. In court view, you can definitely see that those subpoenas didn't go out until after I had, on February 26th, after I had a conference with our own attorney. They went out on March 3rd. So you mean to tell me these people that you're supposed to subpoena for trial didn't go out last year or January? They didn't go out until after I brought it to your attention about those subpoenas. The one attorney, James Gentile, across the table now, he does admit to me that those subpoenas were in holding and pending at the county clerk's office. And then Ron Yarwood, he tells me, and now they get to arguing, he tells me, no, Miss Jackson, no, we sent them out. And then James says, no, we didn't send them out. So now there's a discrepancy, and they're not on the same level, and they're sitting right across the table from me. And so I said, don't worry about it, you guys. I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of it. And that's when I started to do more research once I left that office. I went on court view. I started looking at all the dates that subpoenas were supposed to be sent out. They tried to send them out last year, but they sent out one, and there's 6 others that they held. And then they would say, okay, filed and sent. Filed. If you file it, that doesn't mean you sent it.
Right.
There's a difference. So I definitely brought so much to attention where I stopped because I said, you know what, they're not listening to it. Okay, so we're going to make them listen. That means we're going to take it to social media and we're going to take it to the news. And I said, whatever happens, happens because this right is right and wrong is wrong. You can't sit there 3 days before trial and the one subpoena that is very valuable went out the month of February. Like, how is this possible when you know February 24th we're supposed to go to trial, but you sent out none of the subpoenas for these witnesses? None. And the alibi witness. So some of these witnesses have been calling his dad and I, and they're like, what's going on? We're waiting on your son's trial. We're ready to testify. And we haven't even spoke to the attorneys. Nothing has came in the mail. Nothing has been, no letters, no nothing. No one came to the door. It's like they knew exactly what they were doing. They knew. And that's the sad part. They know what they're doing. Again, it's white privilege. And then to sit there and think that we're not going to fight it. Because I guess, like he said, most parents wouldn't want to talk to us. They want to just come down here and cuss us out. I said, well, the reason why I came down here was to get my son's clothes. And then you guys said that I could speak to you guys. Like, it was just that instant. I said, his dad called me and said, Tiffany, he says, how in the world did you get in there to talk to them? I said, I just told his assistant I was coming to get his clothes. And I came in and got his clothes, but I had a whole lot to say.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
said, I'm not stopping. And it was 2 hours. It was 2 hours now. You know how long that 2 hours, that's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Going back and forth over a table. And, I recorded it. And I said I will use that recording because in there you tell me that video was proportioned out. You admit to me that you showed me a 30-minute video last July, but now there's a 2-hour video that you're trying to say that this is the reason why we told him to take a plea deal. I just think that the defense, I just think they wasn't prepared.
And why wouldn't they show you? That just doesn't make sense. You need to get a Freedom of Information Act. Have you tried to file that for this so-called video?
No, I haven't, and I would like to know more about that because we have did every angle we could, and even his new attorney is like, if there's a video, they have to release it to me.
Uh-huh.
So we are waiting because he's like, I want you guys to see the video. He's like, if your son is not on that video, he's like, if it is even a video, he's like, this is going to be pretty big. He was like, and so now the judge stopped everything, not just because of COVID-19, because my son was supposed to be sentenced. I swear, was supposed to be sentenced in March. And I do feel like COVID-19 saved him in a sense because everything stopped. Everything just shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And I am grateful that it did to allow them to look at more of this, but it's not going to stop because it's like May 6th is coming soon. And we don't know what's going to happen on May 6th. He has a phone hearing with the judge and the attorneys. And the judge said in front of my son when he went in March on the 26th, and I think it was 26th and 27th, that, because of his constitutional rights, he has no choice but to see why he's withdrawing his plea. Why is he changing lawyers again? What is going on with this case? It's so much going on with this case. This case is a very high-profile case. Everybody wants it. People are trying to get on it because if you get on this case and you do your thing on this case, you're going to be like the number one lawyer attorney in the city and in the county.
Oh, yeah. Johnny Cochran style.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I get it, though. Everybody wants to be popular. Everybody wants to be the hero. But this is not about that right now. Right. It's about justice.
This is somebody's life.
Right. Somebody's life you're playing with. And because my son made a decision to withdraw his plea, he had to think about it. And he came and he thought about it. You know what I'm saying? He came with it. I have to say my son explained to me in great detail over the phone, like, why. He was like, Mom, this is what happened on this day. He was just like, but I'm telling you right now, if I go to jail, he's like, if I go to prison, he was just like, I know I'm going to have to appeal this because I can't sit the rest of my life in there knowing I did not pull that trigger. And he says, but before I go to prison, he was like, I'm going to fight this. He's like, so by this time when he's talking to me, I did not even know that this boy of mine had already did a handwritten plea letter to the judge and everybody. Yeah, Mom, I had somebody in here helping me. He's like, and I sent it off already. By the time we got whiff of that, it was that Thursday. He had sent it off on that Tuesday. His dad was like, what do you think? I said, I don't know. I don't know. I'm so proud of him. It was just like, you're amazed. And he says, Mom, everything's going to be okay. And I said, okay. I couldn't think what to say back because I'm like, what do he,
and he's being so strong and mature about this.
Right. And it's just like, so when that Thursday came, we waited. His dad called me. I called him. He said, you hear anything yet? I said, no. Because by that weekend came, we were nervous wreck. So on that next Monday, we were just like floored. It was just like, what in the world? It's like media, newspapers, articles. Man, you've seen it because I sent it to you. Handwritten motion. I'm like, oh my God. He said, Mom, they pulled me in the courtroom. He's like, I wasn't supposed to go to court on this Thursday. He's like, people were asking me questions. He was just like, they were running around the courtroom. They couldn't believe that the handwritten letter that had got to the judge. It was just like, I literally was jumping up and down because it was just like, he did it. But now we're at a point where is this judge going to approve him to withdraw this plea? We've heard that Judge Dapolito does not like to withdraw pleas in this county. That's fine. But he doesn't like to withdraw black male pleas versus white male pleas? Because from what I heard, and I heard this, that the attorneys that we got and several others got the same attorney, that they are just plea attorneys, which they just like to plea out 95% of their clients. Okay? Goes right back to what me and you were saying, Tiffany. It's about money. So I asked the question. I said, okay. So 30 to 35% of their clients, maybe, I would say, white. Do they plea them out? Come to find out, no. They fight for them. They go to trial for them. But the rest are black and the black community, so they plea them out. And that came to me several times about these two lawyers. I said, okay. I said, now I see the problem. And it just keeps coming back. It's so sad because it keeps coming back to the color of our skin. Because would this be happening if my son was the white boy? If it was just a white boy and no black people, would this be happening? No. So if the white boy pulled the trigger and all the evidence pointed back to him, they gave him the sweetest deal, which he was the first deal in November of 2019. They gave him the best deal, the sweetest deal, and he's going to get out. And he has murdered somebody, and he was also a drug dealer. So I'm not understanding what's going on here. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I want you to tell the people exactly what they say happened on that day.
They said on that day that there was a robbery, and my son, Michael Sherman, and Daniel Sullivan, and 2 white girls, and 3 other kids in the neighborhood, they were the ones who robbed Brandon Warham. They said that they seen people running and gunshots fired. And I said, okay. And I asked them, was my son there? These witnesses say no. It was a robbery that Brandon Warham was told to come to Rhoda Avenue to that house in Youngstown, Ohio, to sell weed to this house, which already was a drug house, that they were selling weed and everything else. And when he pulled up, that's when the girls came to the car and they did the transaction, but they also had some of their friends try to rob him. The robbery went bad. And I'm thinking, who were these friends? None of this came out to the media. No names came out until about a year later, months and months later. So this is about a robbery and some weed, and it's supposed to be about some kidnapping too now.
Right.
About this day. So when you put it all together, basically they're saying, well, your son was at the car first, then it was Danny Sullivan, then it was Michael Sherman, and then it was just like his girlfriend was in the car too now. Now, why isn't she being subpoenaed? Why isn't she having, how come the victim's girlfriend has not been on the stand to testify, but she made a statement, but she's on 911. But
she should be in jail according to if people were just there in the vicinity.
There. Yes, Miss Tiffany, you got it, because it's a complicity law. You were in the car, you didn't report anything, but you called 911 because you seen your boyfriend was shot. To me, they said that her statement was so calm, because even when you read it, it's very calm. You don't be calm in a situation situation like that, if your husband or boyfriend gets shot right in front of you, you're not going to be calm calling 911.
Right.
You're not going to say, oh, my boyfriend said, oh, baby, I think I got shot. You know, he's not going to say that because he got shot. He's not going to be able to respond in a calmly manner to you back. He's probably panicking. He's probably not understanding. Oh, yeah, this is all in the statement. That how calm it was, and she was calm, and she got out the car, and she ran to a neighbor's house. Okay, so you leave him? You didn't even ride in the ambulance. Girl, stop. I just don't understand. I'm like, if that's my husband or boyfriend, I'm not leaving that scene. I'm not going nowhere, and I'm not going to be calm if somebody shoots and stabs or whatever the case may be. I'm not going to be calm. I'm not going to be calm calling 911.
Right.
So,
if anything, I'd be afraid of for my life.
Correct. She's never been on the stand. She hasn't been subpoenaed. The 911 records, they're floating out there somewhere. But this day, this was supposed to be pre-planned now. They said that they had planned to have Brandon come over the night before, but Brandon didn't show up. This is supposed to be all on Snapchat. This is supposed to be all on social media, but nothing has been pulled. Only pictures of the girls doing crazy, ridiculous stuff that, girls do at that age with young boys. That's what was shown in court. And they couldn't show all of it because at the time they were underage. Not one time have you showed my son on Snapchat. Not one time have you showed anybody else on Snapchat with these guns and this money and all this stuff you're saying that was pre-planned the night before, which was that Friday night. Nothing. You haven't given any supporting evidence about a robbery. So if this was a planned robbery, don't you think it would have went a little bit better than what it went? Because this man, this little boy, still had his wallet intact and $60 on him. So I'm not quite understanding what is happening with this day. Okay, because I keep recapping, I keep rereading, I keep looking over the paperwork, and I said, something's missing. Because they robbed him of what? The weed? That's about it. Did they get the weed? What happened? Because it seemed like everything in his personal, before he died, before he got to the hospital, it still was on him. Everything. So what did they rob? What did they take? He was there to sell drugs. He was a drug dealer. So they're trying to make it out like, oh, Brandon Warham was the most upstanding young man, on his social media. He had some depression problems. He was in a gang. He wanted to do what gang members do. He was selling drugs for a very long time, for months in, So my thing is, did you guys look on everybody's social media? Half of the social medias now have been deleted. So these girls, friends, everybody's on it. Everybody has gone every which way. So they can't be caught. But you saying that you pulled social media, so why haven't y'all pulled everything? Snapchat. If you say you could pull that and, iPhone records, iPhone records can't be cracked right away, which takes up to about a year. Well, it's been 2 years.
What about his cell phone pinging? Could they see where he was at the time?
They never even, when I suggested all of this, they never looked into it. So now I'm going to have to push the ping. I'm going to have to push that because I know that if GPS is on all these phones, you can go back and look at where this was at. But this is what our attorney said to us. Oh, well, it's been since 2018. Now, this is last year, 2019. No, phone records are hard to crack. They didn't get them phone records and nothing in until almost January of this year, 2020. And they never even told us anything. We had to keep calling about the discovery package. We had to keep calling about the phone records, the 911 calls that they tried to send to us in 2018 when they uploaded it to his dad and I. You can't hardly hear anything, and it was uploaded wrong where you can't hear nothing on the second part. So, yeah. So that day was supposed to be a robbery, and really what happened, they were supposed to, from what the girls say, they were supposed to just, scare Brandon. They had fake money. They were going to give him the fake money, scare him a little bit, but it ended up turning tragic. And I'm just like, okay, so fake money now. And they were going to grab the weed and just run. Yeah. I don't believe that. I believe it was more to it. I believe you guys, like, again, they changed their story about 6 or 7 times.
Yeah,
so
that doesn't.
What happened?
No.
Right, doesn't make sense. Because if you're planning a robbery and you know the night before he didn't come, okay, wouldn't you sit down and say, okay, well, Brandon's not coming tonight, so we can't do what we need to do. So if he comes tomorrow, this is what we're going to do. You know what I'm saying? This, to me, just seems so far-fetched that you guys saying that, oh, well, we just called Brandon on Saturday. We just called him on that weekend. No, because in your other statement, you said that you guys had spoke to him on that Friday night, and you guys had planned it. But now you're saying that you guys had planned it the same day. So I'm not understanding, because this is how you know they're young. They're young, they're dumb, don't know nothing. And now you're caught up in something that you can't get out of, because you guys wanted to play a little jokey joke, which y'all thought in your head, oh, it's just fake money. We're going to just, grab the weed and go. And, no, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. Like, you guys really didn't stop and think. And then to have everyone thrown in it, and then there was a gun involved. But there's forensics and evidence that points back to, again, Daniel Sullivan, who took the 14-year deal because they already knew, and he already knew, and his attorneys already knew that he did it. But, hey, why not do 14 years, get out in probably 5 or 6, and go on about my life? And still be able to appeal and do parole and all that good stuff. So that to me,
I don't feel it's right that you could even take a plea when all of the evidence wasn't even explored.
Correct.
I like to keep interviews within the 1 hour mark. I definitely want to do a part 2 with you, because I know you got so much and you fired up. And see, you make a better attorney than the people you hired. What's pissing me off? I'm about to snap real fast. Team Tiff know how I do. What's pissing me off is the fact that you paid these people $10,000 for them to go against you. How much sense does that make, Team Tiff? Can y'all please listen? This is what I want to encourage you and your son and his father and the rest of the family and friends. Do y'all know about a person named Centoya Brown?
Sounds familiar, Centoya.
Yeah, she supposedly hooked up with a guy that took her hostage, beat her, all this stuff, and she said she had to shoot him for self-defense when she was 16, and she was in jail for the longest up until August of last year. We talking, I think it's 15, 20 years, 18 years, somewhere around there. But they finally pardoned her. So I just want to say, sometimes things can take a while. But I'm going to tell you something. I feel a call on your son's life. Like, he was here for a greater purpose, and this could be used to turn into something. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but the way he's responding, the way he's responding to this. But I think a lot of the times the system wants to break people down, especially people of color, and make them think, like a Sandra Brown situation. Sandra Bland, I'm sorry, Sandra Bland, where they want to say she hung herself, which I don't believe that, but whatever. They want to put them in a situation where they feel like there's no hope. Let me just hang myself, or let me just give up. No, your son, I'm telling you, people are going to hear this story and they are literally going to gain hope from your son's story, even before the Lord turns it around. That's what I feel.
Yes, I feel the same way, and that's what I want. I want people to hear it and be inspired, because I literally couldn't almost get out the bed for almost 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Plus, I had a sinus infection, so it was really bringing me down. And then my son called me in, like early March, and was like, "Mom, no, don't let them see you sweat." My son is telling me this. I said, "Oh Lord, this is my child." He said, "Mom, no sweat, no cry." He's like, "When you come back and you gotta be in the courtroom," he's like, I don't want you sweating, I don't want you crying. He's like, "'Cause I'm not gonna do it. Whatever they gonna give me, they gonna give me." He's like, "But I need for you to hear me." My own son now telling me. And so now our thing is no sweat, no cry, when his dad and I like text each other, and when we talk, because now he has his little iPad thing, where now they can message you and use their little iPad or whatever. Oh. And Yeah, and I didn't even know that until he said, Mom, they gave all the inmates that, you know, and I said, okay, great, and we can write each other back and forth, and I write him anyway, and I send him books from, you know, Amazon, you know, stuff like that, and we just try to keep him uplifted, you know, and one of his books that I sent him was I Am Number 8 by Dr., you know, Pastor John Gray, and I love Pastor John Gray, and my son, I sent it for him for his birthday, because his birthday is January 25th. And he read the book. He said, Mom, I really love this book that you know, sent me, you know, because we can only order it from Amazon for Amazon to deliver. And his dad sends his book. I mean, he's still writing all his lyrics because he loves music, you know, and every time he calls Tiffany, he's like, Mom, I got a new song. He's like, you know, and he tells in the stories of his songs, he tells the story, you know. And I know when he gets out, and I'm always telling him, when you get out, you're going to have a great platform. And in 2018, he didn't hear that. You know what I'm saying? He just know, Mom, I got to get out of here. And then his whole mindset started to change. Because I can remember the first time I seen my son, you know, behind glass. You know, that was March 2018, in a doggone orange jumpsuit. And I literally lost my mind. But he came to the window with a Bible in his hand. And I said, that's my son. And I did not even know. He said, and he held the Bible up to the window. 2018. Remember, he got indicted two to 3 days after he was arrested. And I had to go to the jail. And I just couldn't believe it. That right then stopped all my tears. Because I just couldn't believe, like, wow, he is calm and I'm not.
And to be so young.
And to be so young, because he had just turned 18. And that year, we were planning for his graduation party. I was going to take him to Cancun, him and his friends, and I was excited. I'm still excited, Tiffany, for him. You know, and I tell him all the time, I get it now. You know what I'm saying? And he always say, Mom, no sweat, no cry. And that's going to be him. You know, that's why I'm like, I'm going to make a T-shirt for him. You know, I'm going to make sure that he got it. No sweat, no cry. You know, and I just praise God for you, Tiffany, and for your platform and for everything that everybody has done, and the support and the love of social media and the city of Youngstown, Ohio, Warren, Ohio, you know, Atlanta, Georgia, everybody. It's just so amazing. I just want the story to be out there because of so much that goes on in our Black community where nobody is fighting enough. We need to fight more. And if we don't, they're going to walk all over us. And these are our kids. I don't care if he is 20 years old. He's still my son. And for people to sit there and some of them say, oh, well, obviously, he must have did it because he's still in there. That's so negative to me. And that has been said to my face. You know, and I have to overlook that. I have to ask God to guide me in the right words to say to these people because I know that sometimes I'd be ready to punch a hole in the wall, literally.
Straight do it, yeah.
I can't. I have to stay calm and professional. I have to stay his voice, you know, because I know when he gets out, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be the best platform ever because he can now help other young Black men, and he knows this. For him to be 20 years old, just turned 20 this year, and to have the mindset that he has, and to tell me and to encourage me as a mother and to encourage his father, like, Mom, no cry, no sweat. I don't need you crying in the courtroom, Mom. I mean, it's so funny how he talks to me. He'll chuckle, he'll laugh, he'll make jokes on the phone.
So they haven't broken his spirit.
Yes, it's just like us talking like as if he's at work or he's at school and he just called me, like, Mom, what you doing? It's the same except for he's behind bars. And I wanted him to understand our love for you has not changed. Nothing has changed. And I love even the inmates that are in there because when we go to visiting Tiffany, you should see them all waving at us.
Aww.
They're all waving at us. They're like, oh, that's Marty Mom. They all running to go get him. They're like, that's Marty Mom. You know, and it's just so amazing to see that, you know, that, and even when he's on the phone, he's like, Mom, such and such says hi to you, such and such in the pod saying hi to you and Dad. And then I'm like, I don't know all of them, but tell me hello. But my thing is to tell people, you know, I know you got to go, but I'm just saying, like, to stay strong and to stand on what you believe on, and don't think about it. It's more, it's deeper than the money. You know what I'm saying? It's a mental. They are conditioned, these people, to think that Black people are the worst.
Right.
And we don't deserve anything, and that we come from this type of environment. No, we don't. And no one deserves this type of treatment. Nobody. I don't care if you're black, white. No one deserves to be wrongfully incarcerated like this. Everyone has a right to present evidence, and everyone has a right. They should have a right. Now, if you've done a crazy crime and you know you did it,
and it's just obvious, yeah.
Yeah. But I appreciate your time, and I would love to come back on and to tell you so much more. I mean, this is a blessing, and I've just had a great time just explaining everything because I feel like I have to be his voice. We have to be his voice, and I know that this is what he wants me to do.
Yes, ma'am. But before you go, I want you to allow the people to know how to contact you if you want. Not your number and anything like that, because we got creepos. But I meant like if you had maybe a public email, or if they want to reach out to you, maybe if they even want to donate to you to help the cause.
Yes, I do have an email. It's a Gmail, and it's my first name, Jolene, JOLEANN .Jackson, JACKSON @gmail.com. I'm also, on Facebook and Twitter. Twitter, it is I am Jolene1. And I'm always on Twitter like every other night, shouting him out, but I try to keep it to a minimum because I want to make sure that everything is in perspective. Like, I don't want to overdo it. So, yes, I am on there. You guys can find me anywhere. I'm Jolene, last name Jackson, and his name is Mark Anthony Winlock Jr. So you'll see the hashtags that say, free Mark Anthony Winlock Jr., you'll see that a lot, or free my son. So you'll see those.
Oh, yeah. And I definitely want to help you with those T-shirts because I make T-shirts because it's not just making T-shirts, it's the message behind it. And I'm glad that you were able to tell that on this interview and more people be willing to support and buy it because they know why your son said that to you.
Yes, thank you so much. I am so overwhelmed with tears right now. It's just like, this took a lot out of me. I was nervous at first, and I said, oh, Lord, give me the right word to say. And I was on the back porch like, oh, Lord, is Tiffany trying to call? Please answer the call.
Yeah, you don't have to be nervous because I'm nervous, too, because I just want to do some justice, because we need justice for your son. And, my platform, I'm normally joking all the time, but this is serious. So I'm, making sure I'm being professional. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I'm happy that I can help. And I'm going to push this interview like no other video I've ever uploaded.
Oh, my goodness. This has been an amazing day. I'm just about to cry. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's just been, so much going on. And for somebody to reach out, people on Twitter reach out and social media, it's amazing. It's just so much love that these are happy tears,
Yeah.
And my mom, she just turned 84 yesterday. He was able to talk to her on three-way.
Happy birthday to your mom. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you, because she had a stroke in December, so December 5th, and to see her progress all the way up until now, and she's walking again. And, I had to even go to the jail and tell him that, in December, that his grandmother had a stroke. And to see that boy break down like that, I said, I
know. Oh, my God.
That was the worst. Like, to be a parent and have to tell your child that the grandmother may be dying, like that.
And you can't see them during their last moments?
Right. And she fought, and she says, I'm hanging on. She's like, I'm going to see my grandson one day. And now she's walking again, eating everything. And then yesterday, his dad called me while, he was like, I got somebody on the phone for you. And then he was like, Mom, it's me. He's like, call my grandma. And so I called her on, I three-wayed her in. And so all four of us was on the phone. And when I say my mom, she had such a happy tear. She was like, oh, my God, it's Mark. And it was just like, and they were talking. And she said, first thing she always asks her grandchildren, she's like, you still reading your Bible? And I just broke down and started crying. She said, yes, ma'am, I am. And he was like, yes, ma'am, I'm getting out. And that's exactly what he said to her yesterday. And that made her birthday the most special day yesterday, just over the phone. So
you gotta speak it into existence. One thing I want to say before I let you go is what I want people to understand is you have to care and have compassion for other people. Most people don't care about other people because it's not directly affecting them. But this story right here, it's going to affect me. And I'm going to say a real prayer for you tonight as if I was related to you. Because I just can feel what other people feel.
Yeah, that's me.
So I hope other people do. So I really,
real.
yeah.
It's real. I feel you, and I just, thank God for your platform. And I think you have a wonderful journey. I was just shocked, like, oh my God, somebody wants to talk to me. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like, it was just amazing, and I just said, okay, God guide me in the way I should go and what I should say, and he just told me, tell the truth, and I did, and I was just like, I told his dad, I said, I don't know which way this is going to go with any, future interviews or any social media, but I know we can't stop now. 6 is almost here. We don't know which way it's going to go, but either way it goes, we have to be strong, and I know there's another family that's looking at us, and there's other families that are watching us, and I said, if we can do this, they can do this. So we have to inspire others, and we have to be leaders. And his dad, that's his only boy, what I'm saying? So
that's his legacy. He needs that.
Yes. And when I say Mark Sr. and Mark Jr., they were inseparable, honey. They are inseparable. For this to happen, it broke his dad's heart, and it broke mine too. But you could definitely see the change in Mark Sr., like, he definitely, sometimes he just, like, don't know what to say because there's so much that has gone on. But he's so angry as well. And I'm like, I'm angry too, but we can't let it overtake us, So I tell people all the time, don't let the anger get to you. Don't let it get to you because you're not going to have a clear mind. Do your meditation, eat healthy, drink water, keep your mind focused on positive stuff during the day, especially during this COVID-19. And you'll have a clear mind. And that's what I was able to do. That's when I started to do more research. I started to get more energy, Tiffany. I started to stay up more and more to almost 5, 6 o'clock in the morning looking at stuff because I had more energy. I had more positivity, positive people around me. I was focused. And it starts with your physical part first. Like, you have to get rest. You have to eat right. You have to exercise. You have to meditate. Not on top of that, you have to get up in the morning before your feet hit the floor. You have to pray to your God, and you have to understand what your day entails. You have to have a schedule. You have to be organized. You have to do this, or you're not going to get through these types of situations. And I had to learn that. I am still learning, and I tell people every day is a learning process. And if you do not take it in, it's going to overtake you. And it almost did where I was sick for almost 2 weeks until my son called me. And my son had to kind of give me that boost. Like, okay, Mom, no sweat, no cry now, Mom. I need you. It was just like, okay, I can't waddle in this pity. I can't waddle in this depression. I'm letting it get to me. And that's when I was able to get up out of the bed and said, okay, I can do this. I can get back on my journey.
And sometimes we need that pep talk. We really do.
Oh, honey, yes.
And what I want you to do on the 6th, right, is when he's having his phone hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to text me and let me know how that goes.
Yes, I will. Oh, that'd be so awesome. I can't wait. I want to
Yeah, because I have to update the people. I don't just throw a story out there and then they don't know what happens. I'm going to keep them updated. So that's how I'm going to do.
Yes, ma'am. I know that's right. Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. We thank you from the Jackson family to the Winlock family. We definitely appreciate all your support and love, and we look forward to updating you on May 6th.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You have a wonderful Saturday.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, y'all. It's your girl at Tiffany M. Draper, and I had a phenomenal time getting the chance to speak with Miss Jolianne Jackson. And I will keep you all updated as I just explained to her. And please, y'all, please just do me a favor and care and share. Please share this video for this young man, but also please care. And like I told her, what I mean by that is please just care about somebody else that has nothing to do with you and put yourself in their shoes and how you would feel if you were sitting in jail for 2+ years. And you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't commit a crime. Make sure you hit that like, make sure you share. And I hope you have a good night, evening, morning, afternoon, whatever time you're looking at this video.